Hey guys, it's Kim from Honey Trail Farm. Long time no see, but I am back here in the garden again. I'm a little late. I have procrastinated this task for a very good reason, and I hope to share more with you in the future, but I can't tell you yet. But I'm just gonna go ahead and plant it. I came here today to plant my garlic. It is late November. It's about a month behind when I would usually plant it. Usually I would try to have my garlic in before Halloween here in Indiana, zone 5B. Now, I can't remember, I don't know. The zones changed half a zone, and now I don't know if I'm 6A or 5B, but it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna pretend like it stayed the same. The bed behind me, I'm just gonna start with this bed, and then if I need another one, I will. I'm not really sure how much garlic I have. Let me show you. This much. My favorite basket broke. What a bummer. Normally I would use my old stock of garlic, like use some of what I planted last fall for this year's garlic. But my garlic wasn't as big as I'd like, so I went ahead and bought new seed garlic. The size of your garlic in the long run has a lot to do with how big your cloves are to start out with. So these are nice big cloves, grown somewhere that garlic likes to grow. It grows everywhere, but you know. So I'm gonna plant all of them. So I'll get a smaller clove, or a smaller bulb. I've been saying clove this whole time, but I think y'all know what I mean. I'll get a smaller bulb of garlic from this, then this monstrosity. This should make nice big garlic. Fingers crossed. Where I'm at right now is where my sweet potatoes were last year. I have it all raked out, and I'm gonna apply some of my organic granular fertilizer. This is like, it's got lots of things in it. I'll link it where I got it down in the description. It's Seven Frogs Farm, I believe, and it's the Never Sink blend. I don't know if it works or not. I'm sure it does. My greens seem to like it. You want me to show you them? Hold on. So these are the beds that I had planted earlier this fall. This is arugula. I have more greens than I could ever possibly want to eat. There's more over there too. This is like just a lettuce mix, and arugula. This is an area where I use that fertilizer, things that produce a lot of green growth. Like garlic is going to produce green growth at first. This fertilizer has a lot of nitrogen in it, which aids in leaf development, and obviously it's working. I've got more salads than I could ever, my eyes are watering. I've got more salad than I could ever possibly eat, and that's not a bad problem to have. But that's beside the point, because I came here to show you how I'm going to plant my garlic this year. I think it was Frith Farm is where I saw it up in Maine. He made a homemade dibbler for his garlic so that he can just step in the holes and do like a whole row at a time instead of just poking individual holes. Because when you're working in a very low till system, your ground, in the beginning at least, once you build up organic matter on the top, it gets much loamier. But as of right now, my ground is not loose enough to just poke in garlic cloves. But what I do have is I have a broad fork, and these look like they're about 4 or 5 inches apart. I forgot to bring my measuring tape, so I'm not really scientific. I'm just going to skip and use every other tine as my hole. So I will walk down this bed with this broad fork and just step it in where I want to put garlic, and then all I have to do is just drop them in the holes. I work on a 30-inch bed system, and in that 30 inches I'm going to do 4 rows ish, and the rows about 6 inches apart, 6 to 9 inches apart, and that's as easy as it gets. I think first I'm going to spread this granular fertilizer though. I'm gonna use the gritter because I know that every horizontal line is about 7 inches apart, which is perfect. I have never been one to be precise, okay? Never in my life. But I have found, especially on a crop that needs weeding next year, it's much easier to weed it when they're in nice straight lines. I've come to appreciate the little bit of extra time that it takes to do something the right way rather than haphazardly hurrying up and doing it willy-nilly, as you will. So I'm gonna run this gritter down my bed so that I have nice straight lines that I can follow with the broad fork. Okay, now's where the real work comes in. My ground is still kind of hard. This is really only the first season doing mainly no-till in this area. But I think I can do it. I think I can get far enough down with the broad fork, because even if I'm only 3 inches under that, which you should plant your garlic 4 to 6 inches deep, I'm going to be adding mulch on top. So that will give me plenty of room for this garlic. Okay, that was quite a good workout. Now all I have to do is go through. I already individualized my garlic bulbs into cloves. Now all I have to do is drop them in. Another thing worth mentioning is that your garlic cloves are covered by this protective layer of what I call paper. Which just where all the leaves of the plant dry around each individual clove. You want the paper to be intact. When I went through here, if I happened to accidentally peel or rip part of the paper and the clove itself was exposed, I just put it into a separate basket that went to fresh eating. Because with the garlic clove exposed like that, it's a lot more apt to rot or something get into it than if it has this protective layer over top. So I always just, if I'm gonna go through all this trouble, I want what I plant to be viable. So I always just keep them separate and only plant the ones that are all the way protected. Now that I've got my garlic planted, it's time to lay down some mulch. Garlic is actually a pretty heavy feeder, so I'm gonna feed it with lots of compost. You know, I put that granular fertilizer on as just a startup, and then I'm going to put on a pretty thick layer of compost, and that's what I'm here doing right now. So I'm gonna fill my wheelbarrow. What is it about being tired and my mouth not coinciding with my brain? Anyway, I've done a rough count and it's about 500 cloves in the ground, which will be exciting for next year. But I'll come back tomorrow and show you how I want to finish these beds off. Okay, it's a couple days later and I'm back and I am not dressed appropriately. Totally forgot to change my shoes. I don't think these are appropriate for how muddy it is right now, but I really need to get this finished is what I really need to do. So I came out here to show you how I'm gonna finish my video because I'm gonna follow through. We heat with wood here, so we always have tons of ashes, and I will be sharing with you what I'm gonna do with all those extras in a different video. But right now I have about a bucket and a half of ashes that I'm gonna put on top of this compost that I put on top of my beds. I read that things in the allium family, like onions, leeks, garlic, chive is probably in the allium family, not 100% sure, but I read somewhere that those like ashes, so I got a plenty. And ashes contain phosphorus. Let's see if I can do it off the top of my head. Calcium, phosphorus, potassium, and magnesium in no order. I don't remember what order that was most least, but they have those things in there. They also have trace amounts of micronutrients, so like things like iron and boron and manganese and other things that the plant needs that I can't think of off the top of my head. So instead of letting it go to waste, because we literally just pitch it, I'm gonna put it on top of my beds. Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. Well, there's stuff in the bottom of that bucket, so I thought I had more ashes than I do. But that's fine because we're acquiring more every single day. So what I'm gonna do is just once the bucket fills up from downstairs, I will come out here and finish it. But for just video's sake, I want to tell you and show you how I'm going to finish these beds because it's different than I usually do. So in the past, I'm not gonna lie, I have not mulched a whole lot. You just don't know what you don't know. And now that I'm more well versed and I'm super interested in soil stuff these days, I'm gonna do a little experiment. So I have the soil, the native soil. I added probably 3 or 4 inches of compost on top, so like a nice thick mulch. Next I laid down ashes. I forgot to say I laid down granular fertilizer too. But I guess you'll know that because you watched this video. This is me 2 days later trying to remember. But what was in this bed previously, if you saw it, this is where I dug out 300 pounds of sweet potatoes. And so I still have all the vines. I never actually drug them all the way to the compost pile. So what I'm gonna do is kind of like lasagna gardening, I think is what it's called. I'm just layering different sources of mulch because they will continue to break down, and also this is going to create not only food for the soil and the microbes in the soil and the plants, it's going to help protect the soil. So in the winter time, especially when everybody is not thinking about gardening, you need to make sure that you cover your ground as much as possible. I know you see empty ground right here, but I'm going to cover it, I promise. But all around, if I haven't got to it, I left my landscape fabric down, or I have silage tarp, or I'm growing something in it, or I'm leaving this year's plants, like my flower field that I had, other than the dahlias that I had to take out. I'm just gonna leave all that stuff up because it's like a habitat for things to overwinter in. Hopefully more good bugs than bad bugs will overwinter in my stuff. But I don't need this space in the winter time, and so I'm not super concerned with cleaning it all up to make it look pretty. I like to leave it so that all the little critters have homes over the winter, but that's besides the point. I am going to put these vines on this bed. If I had the equipment on me right now, I would go ahead and chop up this mulch, these vines, so that they can decompose faster. But as of right now, I'm not that worried about it, so I'm gonna leave them cold. Ooh, my chips. Okay, so now on top of these beds, I think is a nice insulating layer, and I think I'm even going to put a layer of leaves on top of this. My thought process is that this garlic is going to be in here a long time. These won't be pulled out of the ground till like July, and I really don't want to have to weed a ton, you know, because weeds are gonna grow every day. And so the more mulch you put on your beds, even if you didn't care about your soil structure, it is inhibiting weed growth that will get so out of hand so fast. Yeah. I will be mulching you can see my nice wood chips I've accumulated. I made friends with a tree trimmer, and it is really, it's really working for me. I just haven't got a chance to use it yet. As long as the ground isn't frozen solid where you are, you still have time to plant garlic. If you procrastinated like me, it's not too late. Even if the ground is frozen, you could make a bed on top of the ground, but that's a different video for a different day. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.